Welcome back to your favorite show on YouTube, Horrible Helbrute Mondays. In this episode, we're going to be going over the new list that I've constructed and how my Helbrute saved a very tough situation for me in this game. So we'll briefly just be going over it. This is the new list. We're going to be spending most of the time on what this list is and how it works. I got 2 squads of Jakhals. One of these squads of Jakhals is to hold my backfield and screen. The other one is for some early game punching. I've been running Goremongers. I sort of had the option between Goremongers and Jakhals, and I opted for an additional enhancement instead of having Goremongers and using the Jakhals instead. Part of that reason is because I use a trick with the Jakhals by starting them inside the Rhino, and that gives them that 3 additional inches of movement at the beginning of the game, and they can go into the center and scrap. I have 1 squad of regular 8-bound, 2 squads of 3 exalted, so no longer am I running that 6 brick. This is mainly because I hope that Pantheon of Woe gets nerfed, and I don't want to keep teching for it because I need to be able to do other stuff, and that 6 brick is very expensive. I do really like it, but I'm just trying something different in this list. Obviously I've colored the bases, so one of these Slaughterbounds is going with the Exalted Eightbound and the other one's going with this Exalted Eightbound. The red Slaughterbound has got an enhancement for the Glaive, so he's the damage 3 and the damage 4 into monster vehicles. And the white one, this is the additional enhancement that I went for, he has Battle Lust. So he's able to deep strike and charge. I really like this because it gives me an option to actually deep strike him somewhere safe and just try and bang a 10-inch charge that has no consequence if I fail it. Because oftentimes if you deep strike 9-inch, you're like, well, if I make this 33% chance, you know, it's great. And if I fail it, well, now I'm out in the open. But with that Battle Lust, sorry, wrong one, he can deep strike 10 inches away. And with the reroll, you actually have a higher chance, I think, than a regular 9-inch charge. And then if you fail it, it's like, whatever, I'm just sitting behind a wall. So it's only a positive. And with having this red brick as well, this is the squad you want to be rapid ingressing, and you don't want to be rapid ingressing twice. It's not with these guys, because you're going to have a Helbrute in reserves. I have 3 squads of Spawn. I mean, not really much to explain there. I have 3 Helbrutes. The reason for this, well, the reason that they all have the fist and the hammer, so I've gone away from the Scourge in this list and I have all 3 with the fist and hammer, is because I still have to be kind of prepared for Pantheon of Woe if I do go into it. And I found in that game I played that the one with the Scourge was really hampering me, because I actually wanted to start all 3 on the board in that game, and it wasn't possible because the Scourge one's just hyper useless. So by having all 3 with hammers, I'm actually sort of threatening to put like 2 of them into one Katan and maybe kill that Katan, or at least threaten it. And at least with the hammer, they actually threaten big things. The Scourge, it's a bit less. And I think right now there's a lot less mass infantry builds running around, and so that's the list you want the Scourge into, like Admech, Guard, Necrons, when they're running mass infantry, and right now Necrons aren't doing that, so the Scourge really doesn't feel like it's needed. I think it's just a fist and hammer. This is the best unit in the game for World Eaters. And then I've got Daemon Prince, and he has for an enhancement the Favorite of Kharn. I could have found a way to fit in the additional -1 damage, but as I explained in my previous list, that re-rolling 2 dice on my blessings, it just saves me every game. This game, I would have not had, on my big go turn that I went and pretty much wiped my opponent, all facilitated by a Helbrute, by the way, so we'll get into how the Helbrute facilitated me. But building onto this list, without having gotten my sustained devs, or sustained and lethal, I wouldn't have cleared my opponent. I would have been stuck with like sustained and reroll charges, and all my charges were 2 inches. So I didn't need to do that. So re-rolling 2 dice, it's been super clutch. I love it. And a little trick with that is it doesn't say you have to fast roll them. So if you do just roll 8 dice, Let's say I roll something hot garbage. Come on, something worse. Okay, perfect. Let's say you get a roll like this, and you're like, well, I'm going to take lethal hits and reroll charges, right? Well, you get to reroll 2 dice. You can actually slow roll that. So you can be like, I'm going to reroll one of these ones. Great. I got a 3. And then, yeah, and then you go another 1. But just as an example, or maybe because you got the 2 1s, I'm curious on the math here. Maybe rerolling a 2 is better, because then if you reroll it into a 1, you get sustained hits. So maybe you reroll the 1 at the 2. Yeah, there you go. So now you get sustained hits and whatever you want. And then now you can go, well, now that I got what I want, I'm going to fish for a 5. And you didn't get it, and that's fine. But now you get anything besides devastating wounds versus infantry. So you can slow roll that, and that actually really increases your odds. You don't have to pick 2 straight away and then throw them in. So that's what I really like about this list. The Daemon Prince is also really good for CP generation. He's super, super nice to use. And I used him in this game for my Helbrute. So we'll get into that. My opponent's list, I'll briefly go over it. It was 10 DeathGuard Marines being led by 2 characters, and those characters give them sustained hits. You can't end an advance move within 9 inches, and gives them fights first. So this is like the ultimate counter Kharn brick. If you charge into this with Berzerkers, your unit's going to die. Or at least enough of them are going to die that the Berzerkers are now kind of not going to be able to wipe the unit, and that's a big problem. It had 4 heavy weapons, so like damage 2, AP 2, strength 8, and then you're in this detachment you pick the -1 AP, and you're obviously -1 toughness. So it's AP 3 effectively into Berzerkers, and it just picks up the whole squad because it got sustained and lethal. He has 2 Defilers, which is kind of awesome. They're really tough, and my only real answer for these guys was either Kharn or the Exalted. I do think that outside of this unit, my list is really powerful and can absolutely throw this list in the bin. But this one unit of like super counter world eaters sit at the front with fights first was going to be a massive problem for me. And we'll get into the game and how did I deal with this fights first unit that can one tap raw anything. Going into the game, you see the use of these 10-man Jakhal squad. They disembark from the Rhino, they run out, and then they charge the Poxwalkers. And it's important that when you do this, I'm not going to get into all my movement, but when you do this, they're going to be within 12 inches of your Daemon Prince. So even though it's only a 4 or 5 inch charge, if you fail it, you can use that Daemon Prince's free reroll, and then boom, you're in. So this squad ran in. I got a pretty good charge. I was able to sort of finish halfway up and down this wall, and they absolutely one-tapped that entire Poxwalker unit, and there was no question. The main reason they did this, I did have sustained and lethal, which is really good into Poxwalkers because they don't have a save. So I wiped that whole unit pretty easily, and I consolidated onto the objective. The other little play I did was I sent in the spawn half to body block his units here, but actually because I have one-tapped Rhinos before, and I thought if I can expose that fights first unit sitting inside their Rhino, that'd actually be really good for me. I did not. My spawn completely whiffed. It's not I didn't really realize how low the chance was, even with +1 AP to pick up a Rhino. It's like a 40% chance. I did think it was worth doing even on that small chance, because if I did pop that Rhino, that unit becomes a lot worse. Unfortunately for me, I didn't kill it. In his turn, he picks up those 2 spawn. He shoots and kills 5 of these guys, and then he realizes that he can't shoot the rest, because if he does, I'm going to sticky that objective marker, and I'm going to score points on it. So he's forced to charge into me, and then he's forced by the way of the wall to be within 1 inch of this side of the wall. So after he kills my Jakhals, he's already forced into it, so he leans into it, and he puts 2 models within that 1 inch of that side of the wall, like so. And they're going to sit like this. And he does stage up a lot of his other units. This guy gets out of the way, and the Defiler runs up. I'm just going to get rid of the deployment zones. Or I won't. I guess they're here to stay for this game. That can fit through that wall. So the Defiler is like sitting ready, like I'm going to pump you full of lead and be really tanky. And especially at this point when I don't have my additional units landing. I really like to have the Helbrute positioned here in that gap there, because I find with the 9 inches of movement, he can go out with 6. It's about 6. He goes 6 and then 3, because that's our 9 inches of movement, and he can fully threaten with a 7-inch charge this entire objective marker, which I find really, really useful. In this game, instead, he went 9 inches over here, and I was left with an 8-inch charge to get into these Marines. It was an 8-inch charge. It was like 7.2 inches, so I think I hadn't quite positioned my guy properly. So I was looking at a 7.2-inch charge, which makes it an 8-inch charge. Now, with the power of the Daemon Prince and his 12-inch bubble of free command points, I was able to make this charge. I rolled a 3, and I only had 2 CP. So if I've got 2 CP, right, and I re-roll that charge, and I'm down to 1 CP, then what happens when he fights first is he kills my Helbrute, and that's a big problem. But with the Daemon Prince's ability, that's actually completely free. And now my Helbrute runs in. I obviously successfully make my 8-inch charge with the reroll. Let's have a quick look. Reroll, 8-inch charge, 65% chance, versus a 41% chance base without the reroll. So that's like going for a 6-inch charge, right, base. So it was really helpful to have that reroll. And honestly, without that reroll, I probably lose the game, which is really surprising. Like, Warhammer can really be just one situation that happens that either wins or loses you the game. And with this 10-man fights first unit that I can't finish in advance around, what am I going to do? Bring out Kharn the Betrayer's unit? And they're behind this wall right now, but they weren't. They were inside the Rhino. Because they're going to advance up? No, I can't. I have to stay outside 9. So they're going to move up regularly. And then with the way he positions, he can, like, that charge can be failed. And then even if I make it, he fights first and he picks up half the unit. And now I'm down a Berserker, or more than half a unit. I'm down a Berserker unit. And they're exposed and his whole army kills them. And, oh no, it's all going wrong. Am I right? So I did have some redundancy. I didn't have to fail this, make this charge with the Helbrute. Because again, here we go. This squad of Exalted Eightbound deep strike behind this wall. Completely safe. And they're looking at a 10-inch charge. Ugh, goodness gracious. Sorry, guys. They're looking at a 10-inch charge to make this the 10 inches to get into this combat over here. And it's like, well, on a 10-inch charge, let's say my Helbrute fails. I fail it, and then I get the completely free reroll, and I fail it. I get a 9. But guess what happens if I fail it? Nothing. Nothing happens if I fail it, because he can't get an angle to shoot me. And then after his turn, I'm going to rapid ingress this other unit, and now I've got both units on the board. And importantly, this unit's safe and can then move 10 inches forward and still threaten this objective marker. So now I'm going to have 2 units, one to go this way, one to go that way, right? And then you've got the other Helbrute. The main reason is because you're going to have another Helbrute in strategic reserves. So being able to deep strike one and charge, I know I'm going over this, I'm going into it too much, but Battle Lust is goated, so I really like it. Either way, I make my charge with the Helbrute, so I don't even attempt this charge because I no longer need them. They were a redundancy if my Helbrute failed. And then these guys come over the wall. He gets his million attacks. And so he has to decide whether he wants to pop his fights first. So at worst, even if my Helbrute dies here, he's now popped that fights first. It is a big deal. He scores lots of points. The Helbrute dies. This unit's now a menace for me to deal with. But they're not fights first menace. So at worst, my Helbrute forces him to pop fights first. He does do so, and he actually brings my Helbrute down all the way to 1 wound remaining. And guess what a Helbrute does on 1 wound? Absolutely whatever it wants, just like if it was on full wounds, because Helbrutes do not suffer penalties to their damage. So 9 attacks, hitting on 3s, oh baby, with sustains. Wounding on 2s, strength 14, and 1 dev. He's saving these on 5-ups. Boom, 9 Marines dead. I got 9 dice. Now he actually activates, because FAQ, even if Frenzy's been triggered, you can still activate. Maybe I'll bring that up on screen for anyone that doesn't know. And I get 9 more attacks hitting on 3s with sustains, wounding on 2s. So 8 are dead, so he takes 2 more saves on a 5-up. They're both dead. One of the characters probably has an invul. It's fine. kills that character, puts another character down to 1 wound. Even if that character didn't have an invul, it wipes the whole squad. So my 120 point Helbrute went in, took a fights first, completely, survived, not unscathed, but survived, and then picked up all 10 of these Plague Marines, which is a very expensive unit, and both characters. That's about a 300 point unit. My Helbrute just run in, duck and weave, getting like scarred up and taking bloody wounds everywhere, but it lives. And now I'm not only denying him 5 points on holding it, I've now removed his biggest threat to my army. Now that's not the only thing my Helbrute did this game. That Helbrute lived and went and killed the Rhino next turn, which is pretty awesome. Another thing I used my Helbrutes for was I had my spawn safely in this little pocket, and I put a Helbrute right up with them. So what you can do is, on this piece of terrain here, you can put 2 spawn and a Helbrute, which is 5 OC, sitting on this piece of terrain, and against armies that cannot easily remove that. For example, a Photed Bloat Drone, which is very fast moving, is 3 OC. That's not going to take you off of it, right? So what he ended up having to do after a couple turns was bring out the Death Shroud Terminators. But he can't multi-charge, because if he multi-charges, he, for 1, has to fight my Helbrute, and for 2, could actually fail that charge really easily. So he only charges the spawn, but if he rolls high enough, well, he has to, because I'm not within 1 inch of the other side of the wall, is he brings these guys over this wall, and I can just heroically intervene with the Helbrute. And because they have to be basing the spawn, I can decide which of his models are going to fight me. So by doing this, I can avoid a lot of contagion. I can have 1 Death Shroud hitting my Helbrute instead of multiple, and then obviously he cannot hit my Helbrute because he's not going to kill it. He's going to kill 2 spawn, and I'm going to get 9 attacks into him, and then that unit's weakened, and they no longer have lance from the charge, and now all of a sudden this unit's kind of completely useless. So if you can prevent them from just hitting your Helbrute, like what I've done here with 5 OC and the big threatening, like you can't get through this wall, it's really, really good for you. And again, I did the same thing with my other Helbrute. He had another squad of 6-inch deep striking bad boys, and he brought them in to go and kill my Jakhals that were sitting on my deployment zone, and I rapid ingress a Helbrute behind my Jakhals. And so now he charges them. I can heroically intervene and position my Helbrute such that the Lord of Contagion cannot hit me, because that's the most important one. That one can actually potentially one-tap a Helbrute. If I'm lucky, he's based weirdly, but he wasn't. He cleaves through all my Jakhals, and I get to kill 2 of these guys. And now, in combat, without lance, they're stuck with the Helbrute, and they're going to hit once, and my Helbrute's going to hit twice, and I'm going to win out on this battle. So I think into DeathGuard, especially this kind of list where it's got that fights first brick, it's got those 6-inch deep striking bad boys. Boy oh boy, does your Helbrute just do work. So to recap, my Helbrutes completely countered his fights first unit that was honestly going to make this game impossible. And I know it was an 8-inch charge with a reroll that was free because of the Daemon Prince, which is a 65% chance. But to back that up, I also had a 40% chance of getting in my Slaughterbound, who also was free re-rolling his charge. And then if he hits the Slaughterbound, I can put -1 damage on them. He kills maybe 2 Exalted, and I can pick up half that unit with the Slaughterbound and the other Exalted. So it's not the end of the world if my Helbrute doesn't make it. I can still force that fights first. I can still do all those things. But man, does the Helbrute feel good. There's nothing in the game better for punishing your opponent's mistakes than a Helbrute. Get yours now.